to this discussion on claims made and notified insurance policies. Claims made and notified policies are a particular type of insurance policy, and we generally think about them in three areas. The first one is our management liability policy. That includes our directors and officers, our employment practices type policies. Our second type is our professional indemnity. That's a claims made and notified policy. And the third really big one that's about to change is in the area of sexual abuse insurance. That is about to become a claims made and notified policy. So what does that mean? All right, let's kind of break it down and understand what it means for us as organisations and as individuals. I like to think of this type of cover in three key dates. Let's put it in three key dates. The first date to consider in order to have a valid insurance claim is that you must have a valid policy in place at the time that the incident occurs, and that's fairly straightforward. Okay, so if there's an abuse situation or something happens on a board or an employment issue, a bullying issue or something like that, you have to have a valid policy in place at the time of that incident. The second date that we need to consider is the date that the organisation became aware of that incident and the fact that it might give rise to a claim. So at this point, a claim hasn't come in. Nobody's given a notification that they've been injured or that they're suing or anything like that, right? This is just when the organisation becomes aware of the incident back here that might give rise to a claim. Now, sometimes that can be in the same policy period, but sometimes there can be delays. So, for example, in an abuse case, sometimes the abuse happens and it's not till a couple of years later that someone in the organisation actually becomes aware that something's even happened. So you have to have a valid policy in place when the organisation becomes aware of a circumstance that could give rise to a claim. Now, I want to address something really important here, and that is this idea of when you become aware of a circumstance. The insurance policy defines you as who's insured. Is it the organisation? Well, it is the organisation, but it's more than that. The policy says that you, or the insured person, includes its directors, its officers, its employees, its management, and its volunteers, and its contractors. So under the insurance policy, if someone, any of those group of people, becomes aware of a circumstance that could give rise to a claim and doesn't notify the insurer during the policy period that they become aware, that may invalidate the claim at a later time. Now that has some serious consequences, and the most important thing you need to know now is, or that you need to do now when it comes to these type of policies, ensure that your staff and volunteers and management and board are all aware and understand the incident reporting process that you have in your organisation. That's really, really important, and that incident reporting process needs to follow all the way through to our office at AIRS, and then we will help you deal with the insurer notification point. Okay, so that's the second date. It's the date that you become aware, or you or the leaders in your organisation or volunteers become aware of a circumstance that could give rise to a claim. The third date, of course, is, and sometimes this is a much later date, is you have to have a valid policy in place when the actual claim comes in. So that, like I say, for a sexual abuse claim, we know that very often it can be 10 years later that somebody actually fronts up and wants to make a claim. But there are other circumstances, for example, directors' issues and professional advice issues, that can be quite delayed until the actual person makes a claim against that policy. So you must have a valid policy in place at that time, and you also must present that claim to the insurer during that policy period that the claim arises. So we've got to really be careful about our dates. We've got to action all of those three dates immediately when those things happen. So The incident's got to have policy in place. When you become aware of the circumstance, you've got to make sure that you do that notification immediately. And then when the claim comes in, you've got to make sure you do that notification quickly and immediately as well. So claims made and notified policies, by their very nature, require a little bit more urgency. Other policy types you can kind of get away with not doing notifications and things like that a little bit. But these ones, they can't. They're much more strictly applied in terms of the rules that sit around them. And you could be in a situation where if you miss one of those 3 dates and having a valid policy and not doing the right thing, where you can have a claim decline because you haven't met the requirements of the policy. So let me encourage you, review your processes. Make sure that the people who need to understand how this works, they understand. And please contact the heirs office if you have any questions, if you need some assistance with your risk management around incident notification. We'd love to help. That's what we're here for. And certainly, if you want to have a discussion about any things that you think should be notified, we're always here. So bless you, and keep going with your ministry.